Hello, everybody, and welcome to Women of Dance. I am your host, Sharonne Vinokurov. And when I say I'm excited about today's guest, that's probably an understatement. She is a pioneer, she is a role model, she is a beast on the dance floor, and someone I wish I could social dance like. That's for damn sure. Please welcome today's guest, the incomparable Magna Gopal. Hello.
Hi, Sharon. Hi, everybody.
How are you doing?
Excellent. You?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have you on. Such a treat. I've been a
Thank you
big
for that
fan of
lovely
yours.
introduction, also.
Well, I only speak the truth. You really are amazing. And I am a little geeking out excited about having you on my show. I'm not going to lie, a little fangirling over here, but that's okay. So, for those of you that are watching and have never tuned into the show before, we are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. So, if you have any questions for Magna or myself, feel free to put it in the comments. We will make sure that we try to get to all your questions as best as possible. So, Magna, let's start with your background. Why don't you tell everybody how your life began and how your dance life began?
How my life began? Well, it began in India. That's where I grew up. That's where I was born. I left there around the age of 6 with my family, my parents, and we moved to Toronto, Canada. And I grew up in Canada. So I feel very Canadian, much more than I do feel Indian. That's
Okay.
also where I ended up doing my studies. I went to university at University of Toronto to study economics and international relations. Also came across salsa kind of at the same time, got very addicted to dance. Finished my degree though, because I didn't want to quit on anything. Finished that degree and then thought I'd like to go into foreign affairs, but there's also this possibility of dance presenting itself. And so I didn't end up getting into the school that I wanted to get into, and I didn't apply to that many either. I was like, I
Hmm.
want to go to one school. If I don't get into it right now, I'm going to postpone it for a little bit. And I didn't. And then salsa, all of a sudden, through all of this time, was like, oh, Magna, you're a really great dancer. Would you like to come here? Would you like to teach here? And I was like, yes, I would actually. Let me see, And worst case in my eyes, it was always this idea that I can always go back to school. I can always go back to a desk job. But this opportunity that's being presented to me right now seems like a once in a lifetime opportunity. So why not give it a shot? A lot of the decisions are in my life are why not?
I love that.
Why not? Why not? Right. So I ended up getting into salsa, and that has taken me through a lot of the world, a lot of my travels. Eventually moved to the US, and then just this became my hub. New Jersey became my hub for travel. And that's kind of where things are at now. In the past, maybe 5 years, 2022, 6 years actually, I've also started to branch out into public speaking and empowerment coaching. It's life coaching, but it's really empowerment coaching. Like it's specific. It's not just about life. It's like to empower people, because I realize how much you can accomplish and how much more you can do and how much more you can create and how much more you can give back when you feel empowered. And feeling empowered is not this massive hurdle to conquer. It's actually just tiny little steps that you can do that make you feel like you are actually in control of something. And that control, that kind of dopamine that you get from feeling accomplished,
Mhm.
allows you to keep pushing forward. So that's kind of where my trajectory has been, from India to Toronto to a degree in economics and international relations to a salsa dancing career to now a public speaking and empowerment coaching career.
I love what you said about empowerment. I don't know if you can tell, but I have goosebumps.
Oh,
I
I
got
can't.
goosebumps when you said that. I was like, "Oh, she's already giving me life." I love it. Um, when you were growing up, were the arts a big part of your upbringing?
That's a great question. They were not actually.
Okay.
I grew up in a very studious environment. My father is very how to put it, strict about education and learning, and everything was like, you have time to practice typewriting. One day computers are going to be here. Obviously, like, I'm dating myself, right?
What are you talking about? You're a baby. What do you mean? What do you mean? We're
um,
all 21. What are you talking about?
um, but one day computers will be here, so you should learn how to type. And that was something I had to do every single day for months after school, um, going through the dictionary and learning new words and vocabulary and learning the Latin origins of those words and then reciting them back in a sentence, in a new sentence of my own. Like it was, everything was about like learning, 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 learning.
Wow.
So the arts weren't really a part of my life at all. And then in probably my early teenage years, I kind of got into a group of friends, not the best group of friends, nothing against them today, but we were definitely up to trouble all the time. And that's where I got exposed to kind of going out and partying and dancing and mostly to Caribbean music. So like reggae, calypso, hip hop, R&B, all those kind of things.
Hmm.
And that would be the exposure of my art art exposure. So dance has never really been there in my life other than just going out and partying with friends. I know there are a lot of people who have on many forums, and I find this so interesting and so funny.
Hmm.
How many people will sit there and say, I don't care what she says, I know she's got formal training. And I'm like, wow, I'm so like the confidence with which you speak about
Hmm.
the facts of my life, which you know clearly nothing about, is impressive. Like I gotta applaud you. I'm sure you could sell. What do they say? Like sell
Like
a
sell
cheater.
sell a snow cone to an Eskimo or
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
like what?
So yeah, that's the extent of my exposure to art and dance and even music, really.
I think that's a great thing that you mentioned because it's a beautiful segue for my next question. One of the things that I find impressive about you is the fact that you are self-taught. And not to knock any type of technical training. I come from the world of ballet, so I have a big love for technique, and I can go into like foundations and dance fundamentals like for hours, and my students find me really annoying with that stuff sometimes, but I don't care. But you are completely self-taught, and you're one of my favorite people to watch dancing. So, can we talk about this process of you teaching yourself and what it took for you to become the dancer that you are, or at least what you started to become?
Yeah, absolutely. So the process of it was never really an attempt to teach myself.
Mhm.
That just is the natural outcome of
Yes.
curiosity and passion, I believe. And if you can combine those two things, you can learn pretty much anything. And you can learn it at an exponential rate and you can retain it as well. Because there are a lot of people who learn things, who go and take tons and tons of classes, and they learn a lot of things, but they don't retain anything. Or they
Mhm.
know a lot of things, but they can't apply anything. And so, what is the purpose of all of that knowledge if you can't actually use it? And it's that passion that gives you a reason to go pursue that knowledge, pursue that information. It's that curiosity to understand it. But then that combination is where you really are like, okay, now I know this. I wanted to know this. Now, what do I do with this? What can I do with this? And that's where you start to apply yourself. And because that's kind of been my approach to things almost all of my life, um, was this one instilled by my father, very, very young age, which was like, anything the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. So I always felt like, oh, if there's something I want to learn, I can find the info. If I don't have it, I can get it. If I
Mhm.
don't know it, I can learn it. But when it came to dance, it was just this. I loved it. I was so inspired when I saw the movie Dance with Me. That was my first introduction to salsa. And then when I went out to the nightclubs in Toronto and just seeing people dancing, I was like, wow, this is such a different world and everyone's having so much fun. I want to be a part of this world. Um, and then I realized that it was all about connection between people. And because I hadn't really learned many moves anyways, I had learned like the very basic kick, 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 kick thing, back in the days.
Mhm.
So when I went out and I was dancing kind of with the same person, then I would dance with somebody else, and then that person would do pretty much the same move, but I couldn't follow them. They're like, and I was like, oh, do it again, do it again. They're like, I'm doing the same thing. You're just too used to that person. I was like, aha, So it's not just these moves that I need to learn. It's really about the connection that I need to understand, and that the same thing could be done by different people and feel completely different. So I
Hmm.
can't assume anything. And from that point, it became all about connecting with somebody. And that's kind of why I would say I'm a little bit unorthodox and unconventional and non traditional, is because for me, who cares about the basic if I'm not connected to you? Who cares if I'm drilling my basic, but I don't end up where you need me to be because I spent too much time on my 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7? But if I can like shuffle a step or skip a beat and end up wherever I need to be, and now we're face to face and we're connected and you feel like everything worked out, then we've accomplished something. And that attitude to dance and trying to pursue the connection first with my partner to make sure I was following everything, all of the messages that I was receiving, and then to the music where I was able to connect to what I'm hearing, and then eventually to inserting my own creativity. That's how I've basically taught myself, is through that process of like, what is the ultimate purpose, and what are the many paths that can take me there, and which of those paths are most accessible to me,
Oh,
and on top of that, how many of those things can I drill outside of the environment within which I apply.
mm,
So for example, posture in dance, right? There's a certain posture in dance, and a lot of people who come into a dance class, and then the teacher will be like, okay, everybody stand up straight, do this, do that. And sure, they can maintain that during the class, but as soon as they leave the class, they're like,
yep.
right? So I'm like,
Hmm.
all of those moments outside of the classroom, you have 24 hours in a day. Let's say you sleep 8 hours, you still got all this time. You spent 1 hour in class where you're drilling those things, but you could have spent all of those other waking hours working on that posture, which at your computer, while you're working, while you're teaching, while you're eating, whatever. But most people don't approach it like that. Whereas for me, I'm always like, oh, I learned this. How many other environments can I apply this in? And
I
that's
love that mentality. Oh my, if everybody had that mentality, imagine the dancers we would have in this scene. Mm,
for learning. The other part of it, the other part of the equation is the curiosity aspect of it, and
yes.
an open-mindedness, and that I think is lacking more than the mentality to learn, I would
Agreed.
say. Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. Who was your first teacher in
um
Canada?
I so terrible. I think his name was Juan.
Okay.
um and he used to do the very traditional, that's my boy Leon.
Yep.
He used to do the very traditional, kind of, I guess, Colombian style, but I'm not
Hmm.
sure if he was Colombian, to be honest.
Okay.
Man, I don't even remember his last name. I'm dating myself again. It's age, was
It's
memory.
okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Even at 21, we forget things, right?
Yes,
Right? At 21, we
exactly. Yeah.
forget things.
But
Yes, we have gone to the video. Yes, that is Leon Rose, who right now is hosting the Paris International Salsa Congress. Um, for our
yep.
guests that watch the show, normally I just stick to performance videos. But as I said in the beginning, you are one of my favorite social dancers in the world. So I've mixed in a lot of social dancing videos into your playlist as well, because I mean, you own the dance floor when you're out there. And I think even without listening to the music, this is a perfect example of you just connecting with your partner and having fun and having this physical conversation, you
Yep.
know, to the music.
um I the attitude, I guess, that I approach dance with, that makes all of the dances so much fun, is that it's not a performance for me, and it's not something that requires perfection to be perfect. So for me, it's the dance floor is really my playground. I look
Mhm,
at it as a sandbox. Like, I'm here to play, I'm here to create something new, I'm here to learn something new about my partner, I'm here to tell my partner what has changed since the last time we've seen each other as well, so
mhm.
that they have this understanding of also approaching me with some type of some level of curiosity. Um, Oh yeah, I'm gonna be distracted from these videos. These are some classics. Wow, you
Girl, I
went
took
way
it
back.
back.
I noticed.
This is you with Jimmy Rumba.
Yep.
And I think this is 2006 or 2007. I think I went about as far back as YouTube goes.
Yeah. Wow. Yep.
And a lot of these videos, also for those that are watching, you can find Magna's channel on YouTube. She does have an extensive collection of videos. So if there's anything here you want to watch again, you can definitely find them on YouTube for sure and enjoy the sound as well. So you can hear how she plays with the music.
Yeah. Even watching these videos now, like I always say this. So I had a recent live chat. I do monthly live chats on my YouTube channel as well and on
Yes,
Facebook
you
and
do.
everything. And one of them, this most recent one, was talking about this lead follow dynamic and how I have always kind of challenged it, but in a way that invites versus imposes. I don't, there's guys who complain about, oh, women are always styling and they're putting things into the dance which the lead did not expect or does not want, and it interferes with the lead. That's one element. That's one way to approach, your self-expression. My self-expression tends to come out of an invitation to my partner, where I have an idea of what I'd like to do. I'll introduce it to you. And if I see that you're receptive to it, then I'll continue with my idea. If I notice that you're not receptive to it, if I feel any type of blockage, whether that's a facial expression, whether that's energy, whether that's tension, whether that's a move that you have already initiated that I might have missed the cue, then I'll retract, and I'll wait for another opportunity. But most of the time in the dances that I have, and these two examples are great examples too, is there's everyone else is dancing out there, but we just seem like we're having the most amount of fun,
You really do. You look like you were having a ball.
And it's almost all of the social dances I end up having are like that. And it doesn't really matter who I'm dancing with. It doesn't matter if I'm dancing with someone as good as him or a complete beginner. That we're still having like this great time connecting with each other. And yeah, I would say if people were a little bit more open minded about the connection with oh girl, you're gonna get me all types of distracted.
Don't worry, it happens to every guest.
Okay.
But the look on your faces are priceless, and that's why I do it. I
This
love the
was
shock.
this was a routine. This was actually the last routine I did with Mambo Tribe. This is Mark Anthony, who's from Mambo Tribe, that I choreographed the entire routine for the group. And it was three couples. But then we did this part of it, just me and him.
Love
And
it.
this was fun.
All the videos that I found, I mean, there are some partner work routines, but what I love is I got a lot of solos of yours to show, which will be great too.
Oh, yeah. 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 Well, so the partner work routines were always something that I'd like to add to see what is possible. Again, just like a social dance, to see what's possible with a different partner. The partner work routines were also to see what's possible with a different partner. There are many people who are like, well, why don't you just have a regular partner? I was like, why? When I could have so many different styles to play with, And every partner that I dance with, every partnered show is completely different. Even though I'm choreographing them, they're choreographed based on that partner's strength. They're choreographed based on what that partner can bring and illuminate in our show.
I love
Instead
that.
of
I think that's so important for people to realize, especially those that are trying to be choreographers. If you're
Mhm.
a director or you're a pro doing proams or whatever, it's so important to choreograph for the dancers that you're dancing with
Yeah,
or that
and
it's
it's
meant to be for.
and especially in the partnered relationships. But when you've got like two people, I mean, if you've got a big group, of course, it's a little bit harder to do. But even then, you want to highlight people's strengths, because some people really shine on their own. Some people are a little bit more subdued, but really precise. So you want to play with all of those things in your choreographies. This was great. I actually jumped off the stage at the end of that show. I don't know if it's I don't know if
You
that's there.
jumped off the stage?
Well, not jumped. I fell off the stage. Not
Oh,
fell.
I was
Almost.
like, "Wait a minute, are you, like, crowd surfing, like, at a concert? What
I
are you
was
talking?"
actually. Yeah, I did. I did. I don't know if it'll show up here or not, but
I think I have to fast forward and see if I can find that moment. We're almost at the end.
oh yeah. Okay, so
Oh, there it is. Here we go. And she goes. Oh my god, I love it.
very
Oh, I
very
love
trusting.
that. I think I've never that's the first time I've ever seen an artist do that at a congress. That's
I
brilliant.
so as an artist, I'd like to say also is my connection has often been greatest with the community, with fellow dancers. I feel like I actually got my push even to become an artist, not because there was an organizer who saw me and said, I want to put you in my events, not because of a dance team that was already popular that I got to ride the coattails of the dance team, but really because of social dancers out in the world who were like, oh, she's so amazing. I want to dance with her. Can we bring her here? Oh, I heard she's a really good teacher. Can we have workshops with her? And it was from the ground up, like this grassroots effort to invite me to places. So I've always had a really great connection with people. And I think that that is one of the keys to my success, at least. And I try not to ever forget that because I still believe that that's one of the keys to my success,
Oh,
my continued
absolutely.
success.
Absolutely. I love that you talked about the elements with styling and within partner work and how to find your moments because I think that's something a lot of women struggle with.
Hmm.
We want to be good follows. We want to be able to follow whatever it is that the lead's throwing at us so we don't miss a connection. And in that process, you're trying in your mind to be like, what can I do that's myself, that's styling and not and we're almost afraid to take those chances, I feel like. I feel like a lot of women or follows, I should say, because we live in a world where everybody's now switching back and forth.
Right.
I feel like follows get so stuck in their head of like, I have to make my hands available. I have to be available for whatever the guy does, that they become intimidated to take that chance. So, what can you tell follows that are struggling with that particular thing? Like, how can I do that if he won't let me go?
Well, what I pride myself in my dance, at least, is that I don't need him to let me go to do what
Ooh,
I
say
want to
that
do.
again.
Yeah, I don't need him to let me go to let me dance. I am going to find my windows of opportunity to create what I want to create and still be exactly where he needs me to be to connect with him. So him, her, whatever, lead, right? um so for followers who are feeling like I need to be there, I need to be available for the lead, I need to be here to connect with this hand just in case the lead's about to do a turn pattern or something. Okay, there's still time to get there though, right? So as a follow, what you want to work on is your ability to process the information that's around you quickly, react to it by inserting whatever it is that you want to insert, and then recover just in case you miscalculated something. So, my skill that makes me a good follow is my ability to process, react, or process, act, react, recover.
Ooh, I love that.
PAR.
Par.
Yeah, that's
That's going
never
to be
said
the
that
next topic of for conversation, people online. Okay.
one. And this was my first show.
This is your
This is
first
my
solo?
this is my first solo. Yep, the first solo
Yay, I
show.
found the right one.
I think this was the first time I performed it too. Gosh, my memory really is
Well,
now
think
that
about
I'm
how many shows you've done over the years. You
true.
go to your website, if anyone goes to her website, she's got some crazy stats like 8,000 hours taught. Like, oh, I'm just like blown away. I'm like, oh my God, this woman has done it all.
Not yet, but getting there. Yeah, so
Getting
this
there.
was one of my first shows, and I really actually enjoy choreographing this because it wasn't the typical stuff that I saw most females doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice to feel comfortable doing whatever I did on the dance floor, which is whatever I wanted to do, and then do the same thing on stage by myself. It was never easy, I'll tell you. Every solo show was nerves in the backstage, just
Mm-hmm.
like nerves, like, am I gonna trip? Am I gonna fall? I have to pee. Oh my God, I gotta pee. I gotta pee right now. What? They're calling my name. No, 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 I have to pee. They have to hold the
Every
show.
time.
Like every time without fail. Um but it was always a joy to bring something. And I learned after many, many shows, actually partnered as well as solo shows. I learned after many, many shows, um, that that space is a creative space.
Mm-hmm.
And the more creative you get, the less universally acceptable it becomes for the most part, unless you are doing things that are like, whoa, right, like a trick or something that
Mm-hmm.
everybody just is amazed by. For the most part, it's not common that you can please everybody. And that's where I kind of learned, well, I guess that's not my goal. My goal is to please myself. Have I grown as a dancer in the choreography, in this particular choreography? Did I try something new that I never did before and force myself out of that box of comfort that I was in prior to this show? Okay. And did somebody appreciate it? Great. You know, I'm not trying to please everyone anymore. I mean, that's long gone, anyways.
Yeah, for sure. I really don't think the idea or concept of pleasing everyone is a realistic concept. People will always have their own opinions, their own taste. There's an expression in Russian, uh, с вкусом не спорят, right? You can't argue with taste.
Right.
Everybody has their opinion. Everybody has something that connects to them or whatever. So you could do the same routine the exact same way for like 5 different audiences, and all 5 will react differently.
Differently, exactly. So as long as that's why I say, when it comes to choreos, well, sometimes people are like, oh, what should I choreograph? How should I choreograph? I'm like, do what makes you feel good, because ultimately when you get off that stage, you want to be proud of yourself for attempting, for doing whatever it is that you wanted to do and what you wanted to introduce or what you wanted to showcase to the world. Because much of my dancing,
Mhm.
yeah, it's quite unconventional. It's not traditional. It's not the norm. The moves, the movements, the even the shows that I do, um, could be considered atypical. But I was probably the one to introduce it to you. So now there are other people who are like, oh, I never saw that. Oh, I never thought of that. I didn't realize I could move like that as a female or as a follow. I'm going to try and explore and experiment, and if I was able to open that door, which I feel like I have in my career,
You have.
then, then I feel proud of what I've done.
I think I can speak for myself and most of the other, female dancers in the industry that have come since you. You have. You have inspired us. You have opened our eyes to things that we never thought we could be doing social dancing.
I'm really glad about that. Yeah. I'm
Like,
so
I just
happy.
remember the first time I watched a video of you social dancing, I was my jaw on the floor, like she's owning this. I think I refer to it as you hijack the dance, right? Because it was just you were in your element and you were doing all this fun stuff and playing with the music, and still the connection with the partner was there, but I was like, I've never seen someone do this before. I didn't think it was possible. I thought
Right.
the only time you could shine was when the guy let you go.
And that was actually the exact topic of conversation for the last live chat I did, because that person was saying, look, the pioneers of this dance made shine, solo shine, so that people could do stuff. Don't be a nightmare for a lead.
Yep,
And
I've heard
and
that plenty of times.
yeah, and I used to hear the whole um hijacking thing. And I used to say that too myself many years ago, but now I look at it more like we signed a contract and created a company for that 5 minutes. I didn't hijack anything. I didn't take away anything. I added to it and I invited you to add to it. And we together built something new, different, that could not be possible with anybody else except you and I in this moment, you know? So I try not to look at it like mine, because I do really see this dance as a partnership, and it's not about me outshining anybody. And as soon as I feel that, actually, even when I'm dancing with someone, and let's say they're really great at turn patterns but not great at solo work, and we break out into shines, and so they're kind of just giving me the opportunity to do whatever I want to do because they feel that they need to, I'll just do a basic, I'll do something really simple, and I'll come back to them because it's not about me, and it's
Yep.
not about you. It's about us, and if you think it's about you, I will also feel very comfortable putting that into check too,
Ooh, how exactly would you do that?
um
Educate the girls. How can they do that if the guy does that to them? What do you
Well,
do?
it depends on how the lead is doing it, right? If it is in a rough way, for example, and they're
Mhm.
doing certain things that are actually affecting you physically in a painful manner, anything
Mhm.
like that, then the way you check that is usually, if it's not being communicated and if it's not coming through in your facial expressions and they're not picking up on those cues, then verbal communication during the dance checks that. If it is just a matter of attitude where the lead feels like they're too cool for school, and they got all these things that they want to do, I break the ice. I usually try and do something that elicits laughter, because
Okay.
laughter breaks a lot of barriers. And once you've laughed with somebody, there's so much more that's possible that you didn't think was possible before. So that's usually the approach that I take into checking things that I don't like. I try and break down the barriers that my lead has based on whatever they think it should be. Our dance should be. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. I usually try and break that by inserting some sort of laughter, some sort of humor, some kind of mistake that I can apologize for, but also laugh about. Anything to take down your guard, pretty much. And
Was this a performance or is this a social dance?
okay, so that's Ismail. He's one
Yes.
of my
I
favorite
know that
people.
that's Ismael, Mr. Million Dollar Moves. Between the two
Millie.
of you, like the creativity's off the charts.
So this was a an improvised show. Um, this was obviously improv, whatever we wanted to do. But yeah, this was we did choreograph this. I think we choreographed this like 3 hours before we performed it, though.
Of course you did.
Actually, all of my partner shows were choreographed and rehearsed within about 3 days of the performance, because most of them are not partners that lived anywhere near me.
Mhm.
So I would travel somewhere, get there 2 days before, 3 days before, and say, okay, let's see, let's cut the song. Okay, and now, how about this? How about that? And we'd come up with a show that way.
The video that I showed of you and Darlin was to a Santana song, which I so
Oh
love,
yeah,
and if anybody gets a chance to find that video, find it. But that one, I think you actually got a chance to perform more than once, because I
we
found a couple of them, and that was the cleanest one. So that's the one I
yeah,
aired.
we performed that 3 times. The first time was in South Padre Island. The second time was there in DC. The third time was, oh no, maybe it was in DC. I
This
don't know.
DC was the third one.
The third one. Okay, sorry. This, I don't know which. There was another time that we performed it, and it was hilarious because we missed the turn. He gave me an over rotation, and then as soon as we went into the turn patterns to the faster part, the first move elbowed across the nose, and we just
Wait,
kept
you
on.
elbowed him or he elbowed you?
He elbowed me. It was the first move, and clocked me, and he was like,
Darlin, you
and he
bully.
and he was like, oh. And then we just kept on going, and we finished, and I was like, my eyes are so watery, I can't see anything.
It's so funny. I think we've all had moments where something happens. I remember a team performance where we had to do like a flip and everybody was flipping in the same, but someone's heel hit my nose. And I
Ah,
remember coming into my partner for like a close position, and I'm like, "Am I bleeding? Am I bleeding? I'm not. Okay, keep going." Like, because you just don't know.
right,
You're
right.
seeing stars. You're like, What's happening right now?
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Performing, you just never know what's going to happen.
Oh,
Even with social dancing, you kind of never know what's going to happen. There's so many elements and so many factors in play that it's hard to control. That's why I say it's really important to improve your processing speed so that you can process everything that's happening around you, act accordingly, react to anything that's coming up to you, and or respond rather even, and then recover should whatever action you take does not work out. You should be
hmm
fast enough to recover.
absolutely. I do love this costume of yours. Every time I see it, I think I've used so many performances because I'm trying to figure out what is there a bodysuit underneath?
It
Like,
is it is just a bodysuit. I got that off of a lingerie website, and then I just
do
bought
it
some
yourself
mannequins.
costumes. I'm all about it.
Oh my god, I paid for one costume, I think, and it was the worst fitting costume ever. So since
hmm
then, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take the things that fit me well, and I'm gonna jewel or rhinestone them.
Yep.
Okay, this is one of my favorite shows. Um, this is one of my favorite shows. Same thing, 3 days. I think we choreographed it in. He's Anderson Mendez from Brazil, and obviously he's got like Samba Gaffiera and Zouk and all these other talents.
hmm
And so this one, of course, I used a lot of the stuff that he knows, into the choreography. But one of the reasons I love this show is it's super musical. Like it's musical to the melody and the rhythms, but also lyrically at a couple of parts. And I just love how different it is.
Yes, for sure. And again,
Yeah.
everyone, this video, I did find it on YouTube. Just search Magna and Anderson. You'll find it so you can hear it with the music in its entirety. I don't want YouTube causing us problems, so we're not listening to it
Yeah.
now, but you can watch it on your own time.
This was a really fun show. Unfortunately, we only got to do it. I think we only did it one, two, three times.
Oh,
A
wow.
lot of the shows, it's so unfortunate. So I don't even know if this show would be on your list, but there's one that I had posted with Z
I think
from
I have it.
it's Te El Raton.
I think I have it.
That is one of my hands down favorite shows ever. And he is one of my favorite people in the international like dance community. He's super humble, very talented, um, very supportive, very open-minded, just an amazing human being overall. But choreographing with him, I think I've done one, two, maybe like five shows with him.
Wow.
And the show that I'm talking about with Te Raton is a show that we did, which was we were supposed to do a different show. We were in Perth in
Mhm.
Australia. We arrived to do this other show to Mambo de la Luz, right?
Mhm.
Also choreographed like last minute. We're like, okay, let's do that show. And there's this one.
This is you and Nataka, which, by the way, didn't know you two did a routine together. That was a shock.
Oh, we never did. This was an improv. This was just some fashion show thingy or whatever that night.
I
And
was like, she performed with Nataka? When did that happen?
yeah, this was some fashion show thing, if I'm not mistaken, in Florida. And they were like, oh,
Yes, it was the
can
RK fashion show.
yeah. And they're like, oh, we'd like you to, could you do something with somebody? And I was like, who do I know that's there that I wouldn't mind like social dancing with? And I was like, oh, what about George? And they're
Yeah,
like, okay. So we just did, yeah, he's great.
yes.
Um,
Great personality,
yeah.
sweetheart, fun dancer.
So yeah, going back to the that show,
Yeah.
uh, we'd gone to Perth with the intention of doing this routine, and then after we got there, I was like, "Oh, remember that El Raton? We danced socially to that somewhere in a club." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I love it." I was like, "We should do a routine to that." He's like, "Yeah, that would be great." And I'm like, "I have the song. Maybe we could cut it." And then we cut it that night, same day that I arrived. It was like Wednesday, and then I was like, "Let's try it tomorrow. I have some time before private. Let's go and choreograph." So this is the show we were supposed to do. um, and and we started choreographing. He's like, so when exactly do you want to do this? I was like, on Saturday. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, we have, I mean, we have two shows. We'll have our show just in case this one, if it doesn't work out, but if we do complete it, then we can do the other one. And that, like I said, he's super, super, super open-minded and motivated and all of
Mhm.
that stuff. So
Well, I do have the El Raton video, and I believe it is the next one, actually, come to think of it.
oh
Yeah. So, and that's one of my favorite songs too, which makes me even more sad that I can't play it because I love,
yeah.
love, love, love that song.
Yeah, and a couple of people were also, some people had mentioned to me, they're like, oh, I'm surprised you did the song as is, which was the same comment about the Black Magic Woman by Santana.
Really?
Yeah, they were like, oh, I'm surprised you didn't like mix in a salsa, or something else. And with this one, they were saying like, oh, I'm surprised you just kept it slow. I'm like,
Because it's such a slow cha-cha.
right. But the one thing I like about it is that ability to embrace each count, like each
Mhm.
note, and just enjoy it, instead of like rushing past it, which usually happens when we're dancing salsa. Most of the songs are so fast. So
Of
I
course.
love this. This is one of my favorite shows, hands
Oh,
down.
yeah.
I would love to do this with somebody else and teach this to someone,
Ah.
but I
Guys,
don't know.
any takers? We're taking names, guys. Anybody who wants to sign up to be Magnus, I'm taking applications. There's a vetting process. You have to go through an approval. There's things I need to know your cha-cha timing. If you dance cha-cha on one, get out. Okay.
Oh man.
Do you have a favorite style of dance?
I love salsa, to be honest. Salsa is my favorite partner dance, just because there's so many things that happen in this dance. There's so many different ways to interpret it. There's so many instruments that are playing that you can like pick up on, and they're constantly changing. There's so many versions of the same songs even that
Mhm.
help you explore it differently. Each connection, each time that you connect with somebody and you're dancing with your partner, is a new experience, even if it's the same person that you're dancing with in the exact same club in the same corner to the same song. Even everything is changing so quickly that it really adds to your skill, um, at adaptation in life, I think. Like I would definitely attribute much of my approach to salsa and what I've gained from it to how I am responding to life outside of dance.
Interesting. I did when I was doing my research on you to get ready for this interview, and I was on your website and trying to find every bio information I could. I was impressed by the list of dances that you do know how to do. Yes, salsa is your forte, but that was a very long list. And one of the styles that got me personally excited was you had West Coast swing listed on there.
So let me tell you the story with West Coast Swing.
Go for it because I love it. Go.
Okay, so I same with this same partner Z. We were
Hmm.
on a cruise, and they had a couple of different couples from different dances, different genres. So we were kind of the salsa couple performing, teaching salsa. They had Jordan Tatiana for West Coast and someone else for Zouk, and et
Hmm.
cetera, et cetera. And that's when I first met them, Jordan and Tatiana. And when I was
They're
dancing,
amazing. I
yeah,
love them.
Jordan had come up to me and he goes, he's like, salsa's not your dance, right? And I was like, oh, let's keep that down. That's what I'm getting paid for. Don't say that too loud. He's like, no, no, no. He's like, your way of stepping and responding and reacting, that's like a West Coast thing. I was like, I don't know what you mean, because I never even heard of West Coast before then. And so then he's like, you should come to a West Coast event, and I'm like, I don't know. Well, we'll see. And then somebody else had told me about like something in New York. There was like some club. It was very low key, like maybe like 10 people in a night. And so I
Mhm.
went out and I didn't really know the basics aside from like taking their class and learning the very, very basic on that cruise. I went to the night out and just kind of danced and flowed with people. But because I'm good at following in
Mm-hmm.
general, like because I'm good at connecting, it was easy for me to kind of pick it up. And then, Jordan, we were in contact, and he was always like, "Oh, you should come to an event." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't feel like traveling for this, though. Like I don't want to go somewhere far." He goes, "Well, there's this event coming up in New Jersey." I said, "Oh, I could probably swing that." So I bought a pass for the whole weekend, like the full pass and everything. And then they had this Jack and Jill competition, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a swing dancer at all, but I was like, fuck
Why
it,
not?
why not? Exactly, exactly. Fuck it, why not? Right? So I joined the competition. I remember talking to another artist actually, as well, who was saying that she was going to go check it out. And she's like, "Are you going to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to go for the whole weekend." She's like, "What are you going to do all weekend?" I'm like, "I'm going to take classes and I'll
Mm-hmm.
dance with people and I'll see." And I said, "Oh, I also signed up for the competition." She's like, "Why?" Right? She's like, "You don't even dance West Coast. You're probably like not gonna win." And I'm like, "I'm sure I'm not gonna win, actually, but who cares, right?" She's like, "Yeah,
It's
well,
just fun.
but the way it was presented to me was like, you have this big name already, and if you go in and show yourself as not here but here, like it's gonna reflect poorly on you." And I'm like, nothing changes how I feel about myself. And it definitely doesn't depend on what the outside world is thinking. I know my skill. Just because you see me, oh, in West Coast, you're here, doesn't make me any less in salsa, first of all. And
Amen.
two, I don't see you stepping up and doing anything. So until you're ready to, the man in the arena thing, right? Like until you're ready
Mm-hmm.
to jump into the arena, shut the up,
Oh,
basically,
you can
right?
curse. We're not on broadcast television. You can
Okay,
say
okay, okay,
fuck. Shut the
okay.
fuck up.
Yeah.
Tell him.
Shut the fuck
Tell
up.
him.
Right? Basically. So so I did compete, and I surprisingly made it to the semifinal round, like
Nice.
qualified, to the next round out of I think like 90 follows or something. I made it to I
Wow.
cut the half cut, right? And I was like, what? I was even outside eating an apple. I remember I was eating an apple watching the World Cup, and someone's like, "Hey, they're gonna call out the names." I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "You got to come back in, see if they called you." I'm like, "I'm not gonna, dude. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing." They're like, "You should just go, just in case." And then they called me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So made it to that, and then Jordan, who was at that event, I had asked him. I was like, "Hey, do you think you would might want to do pro-am with me?" Right? And I'm like, "I'm already here. Why not go even further?" Right?
That's
So I was like,
amazing.
"Would you like to do pro-am with me?" And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And I made it to the final, Sharonne. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I unanimously, all the judges unanimously moved me to the final for that. Cause
That's amazing.
because I'll tell you what happened. First night there, nobody knew who I was, with the exception of like a couple of people. Um, Nobody knew who I was. I was at the edge of the dance floor asking people to dance. I was
Mm-hmm.
getting rejected 9 out of 10 times, right?
Yep.
And fortunately, I did a TED talk on the benefits of rejection, so that doesn't phase me. I think that TED talk was after though, but still, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was getting rejected 9 out of 10 times, but I'd get these dances and I'd have a great time because again, connection was everything to me. Then the next night, when I was dancing with people, some of the people who I danced with the previous night were like, "Oh, I'd like to dance with you again." And now people were kind of asking me. By Sunday, people were asking me to dance.
Nice.
So the Saturday's competition, the judges, I had asked, I was like, "Oh, what was I doing? I know I noticed that you guys passed me, but what was I doing right and what was I doing wrong?" And they're like, "Well, you kind of look like you're doing cha cha, like a cha cha step." I was like, oh, "Okay." And I'm like, "So what should it be?" And they're like, "Oh, in West Coast, it looks more like this." I was like, "Okay." And I worked that the whole night. The rest of the Saturday when I was dancing, it wasn't, this is the other thing too for a lot of people who go out and dance when
Mm-hmm.
they're dancing socially, they're just dancing for fun and having fun and doing whatever the hell they want without paying attention to anything. Like luck is more of a factor than technique and application of that technique and knowledge. So for me, I was thinking I'm going to try and use this constructive feedback that I just got and see how I can apply that into my dance immediately. So again, back to the ability of being able to move and react and do all of these things while processing information and put it into play and recover and all of that. That's my skill. And that's why I'm able to do many things that I'm able to do, especially when it comes to movement. But because of that plasticity in my mind in general, I'm able to do a lot of other things as well as a result. And putting that into application is what allowed me to get to the finals the next day.
That's amazing.
So it's really like I gotta say, it is really accessible to a lot of dancers, but you can't get there without the right mindset, you
Yes.
know, and you can't get there with half-assed efforts, and you can't get there without an underlying purpose. Like, why are you here? Right? It doesn't have to be the same reasons as me. I really want to connect with someone. Maybe you just want to have fun. But be clear with what your intention is, what your purpose is, and from that clarity, decide what makes sense for those goals, right? Because there's a lot of people who are
Hmm.
like, I just want to have fun. And then they're joining all these performance teams and they're stressed out. Now they're not having fun. I'm like, why did you join the team?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Just
why'd you
social dance.
just social dance? Just, why'd you join the team? Like, oh, but I feel like no, you're not clear on your purpose. And that's why you're taking all of these actions that don't necessarily align with what would
Hmm.
actually bring you the joy and the fulfillment and the satisfaction that you're looking for, you know?
Absolutely.
And sometimes that's an environmental thing. That's the whatever's around you is what you think that you need to be doing. And of
Hmm.
course, newcomers, and it doesn't really matter what age you are and how much experience you have, newcomers are beginners, right? And so they're very much influenced by the environment that's around them. So if everyone's performing, they feel like, well, for me to have fun, I need to be doing what everyone else is doing. you know if everyone's styling, if everyone's doing shines, if everyone's learning Afro, if everyone's all of a sudden taking jazz and ballet, then that pushes people to do stuff. But as you go through your dance experience, as you go through your dance journey, the more you can actually spend time to ask yourself, and you got to ask yourself multiple times. It's not a question that you ask yourself once. It is a question that you ask yourself every bloody day, pretty much, right? So you can
Hmm.
always make sure that what you're doing aligns with your values and aligns with your goals. And I don't think we do that enough in life in general, but we definitely don't do that enough in dance.
Oh, you said it. You really did. I mean, I think intention actually is a really big word that I've been using a lot lately with my students. Like, what is your intention with this movement? What is your intention of being here? What is it that you're trying to create? And let's figure out how to get there or
Right.
how to help you get there.
Right.
One of the things I was so looking forward to talking with you about is the fact that you never needed a partner. Yes, we saw you working with a bunch of different guys, and you said yourself, like, why limit myself? But for so many women, it is so hard to make it in this industry without a male partner, by like it not being a this person and me, right? Type of thing.
Mhm.
How is it that how is it that you think you were able to get to where you were without ever attaching yourself to a company or a partner?
Well, going back to my popularity, kind of arose from the social dance floor.
Mhm.
And that is immediately not, even though it's all partnered, it's not a partner, right? It is the skill of being able to do things with anybody versus a one person. Um, then I guess the element of like even teaching, when someone who had asked me to teach, I was teaching different things than just like lady styling. When I was teaching on my own, I was teaching spin technique. I would be teaching shines and footwork. And a lot of the stuff that I was teaching wasn't just for um, women. I because my style even isn't like all about the very like let's sway our hips and things like that. I was doing a lot of different stuff. So a lot of men also would come to those classes to learn, and all of my workshops ended up being very unisex for the most part. As far as the pursuit of the career, it I just never I never had a partner really,
Mhm.
and I just didn't see why I needed to wait for a partner to get started. So when I got an invitation, and I did get invitations from events who were asking me actually, um, who were trying to undercut me actually, because they're like, well, Magna, we'd love to have you here, but we noticed you don't have a partner, and this and this. And I said, didn't I just meet you at this other event? Like, speaking to this organizer, didn't we just meet at this event where I was teaching by myself and my workshop was packed? So what exactly do you need me to bring a partner for? So
Mm-hmm.
that you can have a double expense, because they're not sharing my room, because they're like, oh, well, you would be, you would have to cover your own accommodation. I'm like, well, actually, then I'll wait another year to attend your event, because that's not part of my contract either. Like, I've been
Mm-hmm.
there, done that. Now things are changing. I'm sorry that you don't know who I am, and that's okay. I don't expect you to, but there are certain terms and conditions under which I now operate, and like, you got to understand what a partner costs you,
Mm-hmm.
like, because that was the other thing too. They're like, oh yeah, you bring a partner and you guys just stay together, and I was like, no, I don't share my room. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't sleep with people who snore, for example. Right? So
Fair enough. Fair enough. It's honestly, it's refreshing to hear that this is how you approach it, because for so many years, it's like I hear male artists talk like that and nobody bats an eye. But when a female artist says, no, this is what I request, like this is what I'm worth or whatever, it always comes off as, oh, she's being demanding or she's being emotional. And it's not the case. Nobody ever says that to our male counterparts when they're like, I'm not leaving my house for less than $1,000.
right. I've got an important point that I'd like to say.
Absolutely. I'm gonna make you bigger. Go for it.
I would even remove the dancing for this
All right,
one.
even better. Let's go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Terry, we love you, but it's all about Magna now. Go.
um, I'd bring you back, actually.
Okay, I'll come back. I'm here. Go.
But because we're almost out of time,
I
and
know. You're gonna have to come back for a part two.
gladly. Um, the way I look at myself, it really does depend on how you look at yourself. If you want to look at yourself in the light that everyone else looks at you, then you act in the way everyone expects you to, right? I don't really look at myself in that light. So I kind of decide who I am and how I'm going to write my story. There is this female boxer. Her name is, oh, it evades me right now. She is a Dutch boxer.
I wish I could help you. I don't follow boxing at all, so you're on your own on that one.
I
Go.
want to. I want to look this up real quick. I'm so sorry. I hate
It's
being on my phone on,
okay.
but I want to look this up just in case anybody else wants to look this up further. She is a beast. She was in the movie Million Dollar Baby. She was the
Oh,
bad
what a great film.
Dutch female boxer. Um,
While you're
Lucia
looking for that,
Riker.
for anybody, if anybody does want to watch videos of Magda dancing with Terry, they're all over YouTube.
Oh, and he's one of my favorites. I mean, I didn't want to push him out of this, but I do want to mention this part, because this came to mind as soon as you were saying, how people talk about guys and how guys speak and how no one bats an eyelash, but when women say something and demand their worth, all of a sudden there's this uproar.
Yes.
So this female boxer, her name is Lucia Riker. She is a force to reckon with. She has some crazy record, and she was on the show that was about, I guess, testing. What is it like to what does it mean you hit like a girl, right?
Oh.
So they had an Olympic boxer, a
Mhm.
male Olympic boxer with all these gold medal records, whatever, and her same height, same more or less dimensions, and he did a punch to this guy's stomach, and the girl, she also did a punch to the guy's stomach. He took off the blindfold. He's like, I couldn't really tell the difference. Then they did it on a test dummy, which would measure the force. And his punch was, I don't know, I'm going to make up some number right now because I don't really remember the numbers, but it was about this difference. The force of his punch was something like, I don't know, 600 something pressure. I don't even know
Okay.
the terminology. And hers was like 900 and something, right? And they were like, wow. And she knocked out the face off of the dummy, right?
Nice.
And they said, so now, what do you say when people tell you, you hit like a girl? Like, how's that? She's like, I hit like a trained athlete.
Ooh.
And that is what I am. You know, I am a master at my craft. Female happens to be another addition to it. But under everything, I'm a master at my craft. As a woman or as a man, doesn't matter. What I bring is all of my knowledge, all of my experience, and I can do that in on a show, through a show. I can do that through my workshops. I can do that through interacting with people.
Mhm.
That's who I am, and that's what I'm charging you for. Not because I'm a woman, not because I'm a man, not because I'm a anything, not because I'm Latina or not Latina, none of that stuff. I'm a master at my craft, and if you don't respect that, that's fine. But then we just really don't have anything else to communicate here. So I think the female artists out there, especially who are masters at their craft, look at yourself in that way. Yes, you're a woman, and embrace that too, because there's beauty to that in that individuality as well, and that being a woman, right? But
Mhm.
ultimately, look at yourself as a master of your craft. And when you present yourself to anybody, present yourself from that point of view of yourself, you know,
Mm.
because it becomes a lot easier to, one, negotiate fairly, two, not be offended, because that's the other thing too that I noticed is there's this offense like, oh, guys get them like, just, yes, we could be offended about it, but we can also just go out and do something, right?
Mhm.
Like there was a lot more friction and resistance to women being on their own when I started than there is now. It's like widely acceptable, and I'm hoping that I was one of those people who had like paved that way. But
You are.
there was a lot more resistance and friction to that before. And instead of me sitting there complaining and saying, "Oh, but," I was like, whatever. I guess I won't be working with this person. Let me just continue mastering my craft, you know?
Mm.
Because somewhere someone will see your value. And just because someone doesn't see your value does not mean that you don't have it. And as long as you can remember that, you can keep on pushing forward. And every time you push forward, you just become better and better. Your price gets higher and higher.
I love
So
it. And I with that answer, you already, like, answered my final question, which was gonna be if you could give advice to women to make it in this business, what would it you just nailed it. That was it. That was, like, the best answer. I have goosebumps. Guys, if you're watching it, these videos will stay up later. I highly recommend you go back, you write that down, make some notes. I will, for sure, because I think that's such a powerful statement, and there's so much truth in that.
yeah. And that was one of the things that I also did a lot of coaching for, was with people who were trying to figure out how to negotiate, how to communicate. And in every case, like, don't come at anybody with an air of arrogance
Mhm.
or condescension. You always speak to people kindly, and you always speak to people with respect. But ultimately, the only way to demand respect is to respect yourself. And if that's not there, if there are things that you're dealing with, like other insecurities and whatever, they surface, and then they come out in the negotiations, and then more of them start to pile up on each other, just because you're feeling even more of that insecurity,
Mhm.
because the person you're communicating with is triggering something in you. And
Oh,
so if you're
absolutely.
reacting to those triggers, instead of taking a moment, processing it, and saying, what all do I know and how should I be responding to this situation, then you fall victim to whatever is on the plate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to check out Magna stuff, she's got all this information and more. You can get coaching for her from your for dancing, for public, whatever. She's got so
Speaking
many services.
empowerment.
She does it all. She's got this Empowered series. It's great. She's got the online talk show that she does also with StreamYard. So if you guys want to follow any of her stuff, you can follow her on Facebook and Instagram at Magna Gopal. And you can go to her website as well, magnagopal.com. Everything is there. Did I miss anything, Mag? I got all your
No.
info there, right?
Yeah, all of the info basically on my website, everything is there.
Everything
But
is
yeah,
there. For
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, my name is just my name.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
please, guys, follow her. She is a wealth of information, like we talked about. She knows it all. She's done it all. So check her out, follow
I
her stuff.
I don't know it all, and I haven't done it all. I am like just 10% maybe of not even, probably not even like 1%, if I was being honest.
You're very modest. And you're very modest on top of all of that. We're gonna have to wrap it up because you have to go. You have such a busy day. Thank you so much for
It was a
giving me your
pleasure.
time. We're going to be off next week, but I'm gonna be back in 2 weeks with a very special episode, not a regular one. We're actually gonna bring on an ally for the women in the dance industry. Stay tuned for that announcement. It's really exciting. I can't wait. Magna, thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Sharonne. Thank you, everybody else.
Thank you
Pleasure to
guys
be
for
here.
tuning in. We will see you all next week. In 2 weeks, sorry. I am Sharonne Vinokurov, and this has been Women of Dance. We'll see you guys next time. Love you all. Bye.